What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we have a very special guest, the one and only Jesse Petri, professional bull rider, Arizona Ridge rider. Dude, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. Just having a little cup of coffee on this morning.
Good, dude. Good. I just finished my cup. Just got done at the gym. Paul, have you been up long enough to have coffee?
Yes, I have. I've had
so
coffee.
Proud of you.
I really, man, yeah. It's been a weekend, so I needed that coffee. It's been good though.
Yeah, that is good. That is good.
Shoot,
Jesse, let's fill our listeners in, those who do not know who you are, what you do. Give us a little background about where you're from, when you started riding bulls, and kind of how you got to where you are now.
Yes, sir. So I live in Dublin, Texas now, but I'm from a little town called Geneva, Florida, and it's kind of like central Florida. And so I grew up riding at, in Kissimmee and Okeechobee and Ocala and areas like that in Florida. I started when I was 9 riding steers and stuff, and we just found a little junior rodeo association because I was always kind of around rodeos a little bit, and we didn't have the money to buy good rope horses and stuff like that, and so I saw the bull riding, and it was the very last event, and it seemed like that's what everybody came to see, and I was like, shoot, that's pretty cool, and I finally talked my mom into letting me ride. It took about a year or two, and she still gets real nervous whenever I ride, but it's been great. I found some junior rodeo associations down there, and just started going a couple times a month as much as I could get my mom to take me. And so I finally won my first steer riding buckle in 2010, and I was hooked.
That was it, huh?
Just kind of, oh yeah, it was awesome. But just kind of worked my way up, like everybody else. Started junior rodeoing and then went to the high school rodeos and only high school rodeoed a couple years. My freshman year really struggled, just kind of that transition from junior bulls to senior bulls. And then I had some tough luck. I didn't high school rodeo the next couple years, and then my senior year I went back and I was pretty well dominating. Then I feel like I rode almost everything. Won the Florida High School Rodeo Association saddle and got a full ride scholarship to a little college in East Texas. Did that for a year or so and just kind of got to pro rodeoing a little bit, and I realized I really wanted to go to the PBR, and so I went and tried to make a name for myself in the PBR.
Man, that's awesome. That's a really pretty damn cool story, and I think it's really unique, the part about like high school. What do you think? Was there just a difference in your maturity from that freshman year to your senior year where, the freshman year, probably a little weaker, body's not grown near as much. Obviously, you're taking a big step up on the bulls. It's just a lot to kind of adapt to that year. But, take it a few years ahead now. We took a couple of years off. You're 17 probably. 17, 18 years old. You're starting to turn into a man at that point. Your body's at a different place. Your mind's at a different place. You're able to actually match up with that. I think we see so many times, especially in the rough stock events, right? These young kids, yes, they are capable of doing it. Making the ride maybe once out of every 10 times on a caliber of that animal or animal of that caliber. But you also see kids get wrecked the fuck out over and over and over and breaking bones and constantly in this, in a bad spot. And then by the time they're 18, they've gone through all of that from every year from 14 on, moving up to the senior bulls. Now they're beat to shit when they're 18. And you see a lot of guys with a ton of potential not be able to go any further because they're beat up. Do you think that, I'm not saying like waiting longer, but, kids, maybe waiting a little longer, preparing earlier, getting into fitness and stuff. And I know we'll talk about that in a little bit too, because your journey there has been a little different as well. But what do you think about, like, what's your best advice for like a younger high school kid that's making that jump?
Yeah. So like I said, that was a big transition. Just kind of going from steers and junior bulls that jump kick across the pen and might make a round or two and turn back a little bit, to bulls that are full grown and are going to be right there in the gate turning back. Um, it was just something that was a learning curve, and I down in Florida, there's a lot of bucking stock and stuff, but it's a little different in Texas. Like here in Texas, all these kids are growing up getting on buckers like real
Buckers.
young,
Yeah.
right there in the gate. Just, I mean, getting slammed and stuff. And to me, that's not gonna help you unless you've got on 5 jump kickers that day and you're ready to test yourself at the end of the day or something. But so I think it helped me actually kind of get the bulls rode that move ahead and just jump kick and get the feel for them. And then when it finally clicked, seemed like when I could start driving, when I was about 16 and I could start taking myself to the bull ridings. I started wearing a cowboy hat. I took my helmet off and I just kind of let the dog out, and I started winning all the open bull ridings.
Hell yeah.
I started winning all the open bull ridings down there, and there was a association called the SSBR, Southern States Bull Riders, and it was just a big kind of an open association deal, and so I went to all those that I could, and I won the year end there, and this same year I think is when I won the high school rodeo association, and then it seemed like as soon as it clicked for me though from that transition, it was just on, and I think that the reason that it helped me, the reason that kind of helped me get it to click was, like I said, riding kind of weaker animals and not getting on the buckers at 14 years old right away, and then working my way up to them.
Yeah, I think that's really solid
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, there's definitely a transition period there, and we see it across like some of the other rough stock events too, especially like with the evolution of the mini bears and broncs and all that stuff. And it's like now these guys are running into the same thing that bull riders did. Is there's that jump from a bigger steer or a junior bull that's just going to jump kick. Like that's kind of, it's scary going into high school, and my experience is pretty much the same. Like I almost took my freshman year off from high school just because, that was a different animal there. And there's a confidence thing. There's, the timing's different. Everything's different. And so like guys that tend to struggle when they first move up, these young kids, like I always tell them, I was like, man, it's going to take a year. Like you're or at least, enough stock. Like it might not take a full year, but you're gonna have to get on enough animals to like really start to get things to click again. Because it's just the game is different than what you were used to in those lower ranks.
Right. And when I was making that transition, like I was 14, 15, Terry Don West came down to Florida and put on a bull riding school, and they just had a bunch of mean hooking junior bulls, and I got on as many as I could because I knew I needed it, and that's what it was going to take. And so, heck, I remember getting on probably 10 or 12 in one day, just trying to get right and get the feel for them. And finally I felt like it just kind of gave me a lot of confidence after doing all that. And everything down there is pretty mean, so you got to kind of stay on your toes too. So it was cool.
That's awesome, man. I think that's really important as well, like mentioning how many bulls you had to get on at that school to make it slow down a little, to give you that confidence. And when we're teaching these horse riding schools, I tell them, like, dude, if you're getting on your first one today, the next 100, it's going to take to get things to kind of slow down and start like you being able to think and do what you actually want to do on them, right? That's why establishing the foundation, the fundamentals from the very get-go is so important, because, man, those first few times that you get on an animal, you're not thinking, you're just reacting. Your body's doing what you trained it to do. And if you haven't trained it to do shit, you're going to get dick slammed anyways. That could happen later in the ride. But I mean, if you're first one on, you haven't done anything, it's not going to go that great probably. But we've seen a lot of kids now in these horse riding schools where they show up, have been training with us for months, have been getting on the spur board. We work with them for 2 days straight on the spur board and fundamentals, and they get on their first, second horses ever. and they end up spurring them. They have no idea what they've done, but the mechanics are there, the foundation is there, and they're able to, instead of 100, it's 25 or 30, and they're starting to be able to think because they have control up there. So I remember with Richie, me and him, man, we got on 17 or 18 bucking horses in 2 days. I remember at a couple of schools each, and that's just what it took. You just had to get on. You have to do all the other things, the working out and preparing, yes, but you've got to do the thing to get better at it, or else you never will. You can work out as much as you want. If you don't practice the sport and the skills you need for that, it's not going to work. So just hearing you talk about that is, I think that's lacking a lot in today's world. We have a lot of kids come to a lot of schools, and dude, they get on one or two and they're done. And I get it. If you're not in shape and you're not ready, that's one thing. But the guys who have been preparing and are like, no, I'm good. It's like, dude, you're here to get on. Get on. Let's practice. Let's get better.
For sure.
I think that's a really important point.
And I think so, for sure. And I'll get kids that send me videos and stuff. Like, they'll message me and say, hey, what am I doing here? And it's just real green kids that haven't been on many, and they're getting, one jumped and two jumped. And I'm like, man, that's just part of the process. Like, you're going to have to get on a barrel every day, a drop barrel, something that goes up and down, that you can feel with your legs, and then start getting on some stock that's ready, like that you're ready for. And then, I don't know, kids just think that it's just an overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an adrenaline hump too that you got to get over. Like, you could you could get on the stationary barrel for a year straight before you ever get on your first one. And yeah, it might go better for you than it did a lot of other guys, but you still have to learn how to control the adrenaline. So like there's no getting by. Like, you can't bypass those early stages of just getting on enough stock. Like, it has to happen, or you're never going to get anywhere.
No doubt. For sure.
And I love
those good stuff though.
It's good stuff. Keep going, bro.
It's like, I mean, if you think about it, of course it can go good and it can go bad, adrenaline, but I think adrenaline's like free. It's like natural confidence if you make it, you know what I mean? And so when people can take adrenaline and get real scared and have a lot of fear, but I think you can take it and have a lot of success with it and make it work for confidence.
Absolutely.
Got to let the dog out.
Yeah.
That's right. That's all there is. That's all there is to it.
That is all there is to it, man. I love that saying. That's awesome. But that's so important too, on the mindset part of, you either get to ride that fear or run from it. You don't have any other options. There's just two options. So, and it's really easy to run from it. If you start heading down that path, it's really hard to to reverse that. Like, you start going down the I'm scared path and not being able to use it to rise up and fight, dude, you're in a bind. But that's kind of where, at a young age or a young part in your career, getting on it as much as you can, that's going to help bring that out, and you bring that fight out in you, and make you figure it out and start saying, like, if I don't have my hammer cocked every time, these things are going to wreck me. I have to be ready to go and on all cylinders, right? It's really important.
No doubt.
That's such good points that you're bringing up. I love it, dude. Let's talk a little bit about fitness and working out. And that's been a little different scenario for you. You have put in 1 million hours of bull riding and didn't have a whole lot of guidance on the fitness side and the preparation side, which I think is very, very common in today's world, especially in rodeo. You got started because of the Ridge Riders, which I think is great, but like, how are you feeling? What has your experience been like? It hasn't been too long, but we've already seen I've seen huge changes in how you move in just the last month. So kind of walk us through how you're feeling, and if you're noticing any differences, and if you wish you would have started this sooner or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I've always been a guy that just is like, well, to get better, you got to get on more bulls or get on the barrel or ride horses and stuff like that. And that's kind of always what I've done. And it's just the working out, it came along through the team series. And of course, they want to give us every avenue that they can to get better. And back in the old days, there was nobody that worked out. I mean, it was, they may drink a couple beers before they get on and have a good time and go ride and be 90. But it just seems like nowadays, most everybody is working out. And so you kind of have to. It's almost like, you know, if you want to have a little bit of an edge, or feel like, you know, you're making it to the top, I feel like you got to be working out, and the working out's kind of helped me because it's just parts of my body that have gotten stiff over time, like my hips and stuff, and which is obviously really important in bull riding. Breaking at the hips and stuff. I mean, when my hips got stiff, it just seemed like it was harder to kind of break over my rope and everything like that. And but I think all those little workouts and stuff that you send us it's just icing on the cake, kind of. Really, I do enjoy it, and I think it's pretty beneficial.
Heck yeah, dude. It's when you were mentioning earlier getting on the buck and barrel or stationary barrel, whatever it is, and you were saying it takes reps to feel that pressure through your legs and being able to actually activate and know what you're actually looking for to feel. I think that working out enhances that and can help that muscle mind connection, brain connection, whatever you want to call it, happen quicker than it would just riding the stationary barrier or just working out, right? You get to work out and exercise and say, okay, on the stationary barrel or when I'm riding bulls, I am lacking like being able to put pressure through these legs. Okay, so when I work out, I'm doing a split squat or a Cossack squat or a lateral lunge or whatever it is, I'm going to focus really hard on pressing through that leg to get that tension and make sure like upstairs in between the ears, I'm saying fire, fire, fire. Same thing. Now I'm going to take that to my stationary barrel and be overthinking about that until I can actively feel that. And then it just continues on. So like the tightness thing, mobility wise, do you feel like the exercises and the stretches combined are the best, or do you feel like do you enjoy one or the other better?
You know, I like both, really. The stretching really is something that I think helps a lot, you know, especially when your body's getting pretty stiff just from doing it so much over time and not really stretching much. And so when you, like, my body feels a little looser, and so it just feels like I can move better kind of on a bull. And like I was telling you the other day, just about body weight stuff, like simple push-ups. I mean, I never used to really even do push-ups or sit-ups or anything, and like I feel like that's pretty important when you're riding bulls because you're pulling your own body weight around. And so it could be that one little movement that you need to make, and you might not be strong enough to pull your own body weight back to that position if if you let yourself not be strong enough. And so with all the body weight stuff, I think that's what really helps. And I don't think, when people think about working out as a bull rider, they think of a guy all swolled up with a gym bag and a towel and a protein shake walking into the gym and just busting ass for 4 hours. But that's not even it. It's just all these simple little stretches and the mobility stuff. I think that's what really can kind of help you get to the next level, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Heck yeah, man.
Like, I mean, you kind of alluded to it already. Like, a lot of what a bull rider goes through is really repetitive. So you ride in the truck for a long time. So you're sitting down, you get out, you're breaking at the hips on a bull, you're setting your hips, breaking the hips, set the hips. Then you're going to hit the ground at some point. Hopefully you can land on your feet, but that happens less often than what we'd like it to. And so you're going through these repetitive motions, and then blunt force trauma, and then you do it, you repeat it over and over and over again, hundreds of times a year. And so it doesn't have to be much, you don't have to be like that bodybuilder, like guy going into the gym. Like, you just have to do a little maintenance on the car, or, a little maintenance on the body to try and keep it feeling the way it's supposed to be feeling. And all of we tell people all the time is like, we can't necessarily make you a better bull rider, quote unquote, but we can increase your capacity to work on your skill. Like, guys will be like, oh, I get on the stationary barrel for 3 hours a day. And I'm like, oh, well, how do you feel by that third hour? Like, well, I'm pretty wore out. It's like, well, that's not a good idea then. Like, you're now you're creating bad habits. So like, if we can get you strong enough to increase your capacity and your endurance to be able to practice maybe a little longer, then that's all the more, check marks you can put on that skill development side, is you're able to do the actual bull riding thing better, longer.
Right, for sure. And it's nice showing up to the bull riding feeling good too. You know, that's to me that's real important. I'm picky about how I feel when I show up and who I'm with and stuff like that. And so when you're not limping up there with stiff hips and stuff, it's pretty nice to feel pretty agile and just fresh, ready to attack something. And that's something I really like is just simply feeling good when you show up.
Man, I think that's worth $1 million right there. Being able to show up feeling good, that does so much for you on a performance level, you know, confidence wise. You're not thinking about anything but what you need to do. And I think there's probably a bunch of people listening to this and thinking, damn, I've showed up to a rodeo before and definitely second guessed myself because of the lack of work I put in. That comes only with dedication, man, being dedicated to what you're doing. We're talking last night, talking about getting you on here, and you're like, oh, I gotta go jump on the tractor. And then you're like, oh, I gotta get my workout after that. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's not early, but he's still getting it in. He's still doing it. So what keeps you going, man? Like, what keeps you doing that and showing up for yourself? Because it's easy to be motivated for a sec, but this has been, you know, every day you do that for me. Like you're after it. You're getting to work. Me and you have a mutual understanding, like it's going to get done and you get it done every time. So what holds you individually accountable?
Just repetition, I think, and it's something that I learned through the team series. Like I said, before the teams, pretty much, I didn't really do too much for bull riding besides ride horses and just ride bulls. And I think riding horses does a lot for you and stuff.
I agree.
But the thing I learned in the team series was when that MMA fighter came in and talked to us, and it's just sticking to the routine and the dedication, even if you don't want to, because in the end, it's gonna make you better. And so, like, that's something that really made a lot of sense. And he also said, like, you may not even want to do it one day. I mean, sometimes you just wake up and you don't want to do it, but if you just don't think about it and you just do it, and then when you're done with it, you know that you did everything you can that day to get better. And it's not rocket science to me. Like, this is bull riding. It's pretty simple. And so I've made myself a little routine. And I think that's the time every day that I put in the work to get better at riding bulls. And I can still do anything else I want during the day, but those little few hours a day that I dedicate to bull riding is just what I do to get better.
Man, that's again worth its weight in gold. That advice, like just doing it, just putting the work in. Like Casey Field, he's got 2 hours a day set aside for bareback riding, and he just focuses on that and then goes throughout his day, doesn't think about bareback riding anymore. And I think that's so important. So many guys wear themselves out throughout the week just thinking about bull riding or thinking about bucking horses all day long. By the time they get there, they're just exhausted and it never goes well. So creating that routine is so important. And you know, just talking about it now, I mean, you're sitting here injured, just had a plate put in your elbow, and you're still on the routine. You're still putting the work in because you know it's going to help your recovery. You're going to be back that much faster. How many people listening right now have had an injury, literally had their arm cut open 48 hours ago, and they're back to their routine? Probably zero. You know, but it's that determination.
That's a pretty cool star.
Yeah, you do. That's a gnarly one, bro. It's gnarly. But that's just part of the game, man. And that was nothing we could prevent. That's a bull's horn hitting your arm. You know, that's just bull riding. That's going to happen at some point in time. That being said, the more muscle we can surround that with, the better off we're going to be on protecting it from here on out, right? So it's like we can do things, but in the end, it's who said it? I think Paul did. It's like sitting cross-legged in the middle of a highway and acting surprised when you get run over. Like it's bull riding, and it's just part of the deal sometimes. But I think it's just really, really, man, it's admirable to see out there and putting the work in. And I love hearing about it and hope that, you know, young guys watching, listening are taking notes because the game has changed. You know, Jess is just all cowboy. He's been all cowboy his entire life, never really dipped into the, you know, quote unquote athletic side of it. And here he is expanding himself, growing himself, and his game is elevating. Even guys been riding bulls since he's 9. You know, to elevate as he's getting older and keep getting better as he's getting older. We're defying the odds there. This is a sport that usually does not happen, right? You're riding good 18 to 23, and then you start getting sore, and then by 30 you're like, I'm done, or I might have a year left. It's like, no, dude, we're past that. I want to see, like I said, I want to see those Tom Brady's in the rough stock events winning world titles in their late 30s, 40, being able to be done when they want to be done, not because they're too injured, too crippled to walk. And then, man, my biggest thing is the retirement thing. Like the PBR is doing huge things for Cowboys in that sense. You guys are able to actually make a good amount of money, have to go to quote unquote less events, but I mean, not really. When you start talking about individual and team series running back to back, it's just a full year riding bulls, but a lot more money, a lot more sponsors, a lot more opportunity for a guy to make money, be smart with his money while he's there making it, and hopefully not have to go work that 9 to 5 when he gets done. Because I think, you sell your soul and your body to the sport, and then to not have anything when it's done besides the memories is tough on guys. And so that's why you see a lot of depression, things like that when guys get done rodeoing, and it's hard on a guy. It's all he has. So hopefully fitness, what we're doing, what other people are doing to add value to the sport is only going to help propel athletes to a different level and take the game to a different level. But definitely think the team series is on to something there with getting everybody involved. There's nothing. I love going to those games, man. It's so cool to see like hometown crowds that get fired up for just a team because they're prideful about their city and they want them to win. And it's Ridge Riders are the best about that. I can't wait for you to see the Ridge Rider days are fun, dude. Like last year it was wild. Yeah. Like they were booing teams, other teams and shit. Lambert's out there and he's like talking about some reride and they're just booing him, dude. The whole crowd. It was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, it's funny.
Loved it. They get excited.
It's crazy. I think they're going to start getting a lot more drama involved in it and just kind of make it seem like everybody hates each other and stuff. But really everybody's friends,
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody in the locker rooms are all still buddies because they're used to going down the road with each other.
Yeah. And it's funny because some of the teams, like some of the coaches, they don't want you to talk to the other. Like I was on a team before that they just didn't really want you to talk to other players, and they're all our buddies. I mean, during the individual season, we're all back there
best buds
and hanging out and stuff, and that's some of the parts that makes it fun, and so it's just kind of funny how some of them go about it, but it's good when you got a bunch of your good buddies on your same team for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We've got a killer team right now. I'm stoked to be a part of it, and stoked to get you back in action, dude. Get that elbow feeling better. You said you've got about 6 weeks, so he'll be putting the work in, and y'all better look out when he gets back to riding.
For sure.
Man,
I'm ready to be back.
I bet you are, man. Thank you so much for being on here today, buddy. We really appreciate it and appreciate you bringing your insight. And hopefully some guys, young riders, can take some information from this and use it. And if anyone has any questions for Jesse, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. Just shoot him a DM. Or you can shoot us a message if you want. Got to thank our sponsors, Beastmaster Rodeo, been with us since day one, the premier rodeo gear company in the world. Whether you're the elite of the elite or just getting started, rough stock event, timed event, stock contractors, they got everything for you. Use our discount code CHAMPIONLIVING, all one word, uppercase, going to save you 10% on all their products. And HOOEY Brands, man, their summer gear is so sick. Make sure y'all go check out their new shirts, hats, shorts. Shorts are unreal. Use our discount code CHAMPIONLIVING, all one word again, not case sensitive, going to save you 10% at HOOEY. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later.